people come to me for coaching and they want to become successful. And my job is not to support people in that. My job is to support people in revealing what's already here. The beauty, the magic, the harmony, the peace, the abundance is already here. It always has been. So for me, it's about revealing rather than becoming. Let me question that. Am I broke? Interesting. Because when I walk to the refrigerator, I have food in there. Interesting. Because when I look in my closet, I have clothes. Interesting. Because when I look up, I have a roof over my head. Am I broke? Or is that a perception? And am I committed to holding on to the perception, to this opinion, or am I the space for something different? Because I've been to the depths of what we call some of the ugliest places. I've been in that place where I've wanted to end my life. I've been in that place where I've been pure anger and rage. I've been in that place where I've almost killed people. And wouldn't change it for a minute. The moment we believe that we're separate from our neighbor, we have an issue.
Wherever you are tuning in from in the world today, we welcome you. I am sat here today with a man who has been hailed one of the greatest emerging leaders of our time. And I believe it. He is an internationally recognized speaker. He is the founder of a movement which is so dope called the Love Mob. He is the author of a book called Love Louder. His mission is to ignite a multi-generational movement. Everything this man does is in the name of that thing that connects us all, and that is love. My guest today is no other than Love's Voice himself, Preston Smiles. Welcome.
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Yeah!
Thank you for joining us, man, dude.
I appreciate it, man.
We are up here. Look at this.
Yeah.
In the LA mountains.
Gorgeousness.
In Topanga.
Ridiculous.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
With a beautiful man and a beautiful message.
Are you coming on to me?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
If I was that way inclined,
got it.
I would be coming on to you, dude.
Got it.
Sorry, Alexi.
Just
Sorry,
making
Alexi.
it clear.
Sorry,
yeah.
Alexi.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. So, for anyone else looking into where you're at in life now, you travel the world,
Mm-hmm.
you are doing talks absolutely everywhere. Everything seems to be blowing up for you. Has life always looked like this? Has life always been this way? Where did this begin?
Yeah, I mean, so the interesting answer is yes, but it didn't always look this way. So I have a different understanding of abundance now, and I was abundant then when I had absolutely nothing, and I'm abundant now when I have absolutely everything, because I've always had everything as long as I've had breath. So that's like the esoteric woo-woo answer. We got to get that one out of the way. You guys got that? Cool. All right. So as a dude, I don't even know where to freaking start because I've lived 30 lifetimes. But I'll say this. As a kid, at the time that I grew up in Los Angeles, they weren't so quick to catch certain things. And around 9 years old, they took me out of the regular class with 30 children and placed me in a special education class where there was 4 mentally ill children. And I made some stories up about myself, as any 9-year-old would do, that I was the dumb kid, that I was stupid, that I was less than. Because clearly I'm crazy, yeah, I'm bonkers, but I'm not mentally ill. So they couldn't pick up my genius. And in that, that was a core wound that came up for me. And in that core wound, I wanted to be accepted. So I ramped up being better at sports than everybody, and I made sure that I could fight, and that I bullied the bullies and befriended the nerds, and I was this Robin Hood as a child. And that led me into, I started smoking weed when I was 11, and joined a gang, a little clique that we made up called NFCG, which was Notorious Fucking Criminal Gang, which is hilarious because we were in this middle class Dennis the Menace neighborhood that we turned into a war zone. And that led me to, basically tight roping and double dutching in between this understanding that there has to be more to this life, and then the teenage angst of wanting to be tough and rites of passages and all of these things that we as a society don't necessarily deal with. And when I was 15, some friends of mine who I'd hung out with all the time, these were my best friends, my buddy Scott, who I played basketball with, and I stole liquor and did crazy stuff with, called me to come out and hang like we always did. But this particular night it was a no. It was my first understanding, my first true understanding of intuition. Because something in me was a no. So he called, "What up, P-Dog? What up, Skizzle? What's the dizzle?" You know, back then he used to do the izzles with everything. He's like, "You coming out tonight?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna chill." He's like, "Don't be a boop." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be a boop tonight." We hung up the phone. Now, a little backstory about Scott and I. I'm not sure if they have this where you came from, but it's called shotgun. So our buddy Rudy had this blue Astro van, and Scott and I would always fight over the front seat. So
we say that too.
Yeah, you come out and you're like, "Shotgun!"
Yeah.
Right? And so Scott and I would like yell shotgun and try to get to the front seat first. But this night, because I said no, Scott got shotgun. He got front seat. And within an hour, every single person in that blue Astro van was shot, and my best friend Scott was shot in the head and died. And for me, this was a gigantic wake-up call. This was one of the first sort of openings for me, because at 15, I had barely cried maybe a total of 5 times in my life at that point, because big boys don't cry, not in the society that, you know, I grew up in, and probably you as well. So I didn't know what to do with those feelings. I didn't know what to do with it.
What did it feel like?
I felt overwhelmed, lost, a lot of anxiety, confusion. There's a lot that came up. I didn't have the words for it. I didn't have the vocabulary that I have now. But all of that stuff came up, and I asked my father, could I leave? And he's like, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I don't care. I can't be at this school. I can't be here. I can't be in the neighborhood." And I ended up going to a school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, called North Allegheny High School, which at the time was like one of the richest public schools in the nation. And it was like, do you guys have Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Yeah. So I was like that dude. Like I went there, and I was the only black male, and I was like this cool alien that everybody wanted to hang out with. And there was a clique that was created there called, a gang called Wexford Mafia. This is all these like white kids with BMWs and Mercedes, and they created a gang there. And I was a part of it, and one day we were winding through these roads, and they were listening to Tupac or something and smoking joints and drinking, and I had this moment where I was like, this is interesting, because the kids at my former school were smoking weed, drinking, listening to Outkast, Tupac, and Biggie, and they were getting specific results. And the kids at North Allegheny High, where you could eat off the ground, were doing the exact same thing, but getting different results. And I came to this understanding that based on the environment and the expectation, the people rise differently. You know, I say this now, in hindsight, you cannot rise to low expectations. And at my other school, we were expected to be screw-ups. We were expected to be in jail. We were expected to go only so far. And based on that expectation, we all met it. And, you know, not to play the victim or anything of that nature, because I'm not a victim, and neither is anybody in that circumstance, but it is interesting. It is interesting that that's how life had played out up to that point. And to make a long story short, in that wake-up call, I understand that underneath all of our stories, gay, straight, black, white, Christian, Muslim, underneath all of that is our truth, which is love. Love is all there is, was, and ever will be. And that was like the moment where things shifted.
Okay, so for anyone else, that's a beautiful, beautiful story, man.
Thanks, man. I didn't mean to go off on a crazy rant. I mean, that story could be longer, but...
Oh, yeah, that's a short version. For just in the end there, you said that you talk about finding love, and that's your key message. So
yes,
for anyone that is tuning in and watching this or hearing this now, and when you say those words, like, how did you come to the realization that love is the one truth, and what does it you mean when you say those words? Like,
yes.
Could you translate that
Yes.
So maybe to give some perspective, if people haven't had that same realization as you.
Yeah. So without going too far off the deep end, because I can, love is everything. It is the isness, it is the allness. It is the poop that's right there in the grass next to me. It is the air that I breathe. It is this chair, it is you, it is me, it is anybody listening to this. I believe, I know, with every cell in my body that there is nothing other than love. Now, on a vibratory level, even based on our science, because we now know that everything is vibrating, there are certain stations, let's just say we're talking about a radio station, that when we tune to it, everything lines up and we feel better. And not that life is all about feeling good per se, but in that alignment, creation happens. And so for me, it has become about aligning with my highest good. And love, because here's the tricky thing. Everybody's got a different definition of love, So I don't want to necessarily put in the space what that means for everybody else. My belief is that there's only one power, and how we use that power is up to us. We use it with our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Everything else is perfect. That which we label good and that which we label bad, for me, are both perfect. They're profane and they're profound. Perfect. The question is what do we choose now? What do I choose now? There's famine. Awesome. What do I choose now? There's beauty in the world. Awesome. What do I choose now? Because that is where the creation happens. So I find that at the root cause of all of the suffering is this resistance to what is. And most people are in resistance to life. And life is just lifing. It has no definitions. Life doesn't call things good or bad. It just is. And the moment we get in alignment with what is, then we have choice. But most people are operating across the board in shoulds.
How do you get into that space? How do you get people from operating from shoulds to connecting to the highest self and
questioning everything? The moment we start questioning and getting our questions answered and our answers questioned, the moment we start playing in that field and being the space and opening up, see, for me, it's not our job to make it happen. It is our job to welcome it. A lot of people, especially in the entrepreneurial space, are trying to become. People come to me for coaching and they want to become successful. And my job is not to support people in that. My job is to support people in revealing what's already here. The beauty, the magic, the harmony, the peace, the abundance is already here. It always has been. So for me, it's about revealing rather than becoming. And how that happens is by questioning everything. I'm a Christian. Let me question that. I'm broke. Let me question that. Am I broke? Interesting. Because when I walk to the refrigerator, I have food in there. Interesting. Because when I look in my closet, I have clothes. Interesting. Because when I look up, I have a roof over my head. Am I broke? Or is that a perception? And am I committed to holding on to the perception, to this opinion? Or am I the space for something different? Because attention or our energy flows where our attention goes. So what are you paying attention to? What are you holding on to?
And whose ideas are they that we're grasping?
Yes, the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness, it just flows through. And most people identify with their thoughts. They identify with these things that are flowing through. For me, I see all kinds of crazy stuff come up. And I go, interesting. Not me. That's Terminator 2. That's The Matrix. That's Game of Thrones. That's the stuff I watched that's been placed in my consciousness. I'm not identifying with that stuff. I know the truth of who I am. Love, infinite being that has never been born and will never die. That's the truth of who I be. All the rest of it is malarkey. I've never said malarkey on camera.
Yeah, man, that's I can identify with that. Like, you know, through my journey, it's just been an unfolding of who I'm not.
Oof.
Of who
Yes.
I'm not, to discover who I truly am, and
Yeah.
and that onion is still taking the layers off, layer by layer, layer by layer, layer by layer.
Forever will be, man.
Yeah, and in the infinite game that we play.
Yes, yes.
But when you're doing that, it's difficult. You know, when you're first on that journey, and if you're probably watching this show, you're probably on that journey too. What would be your words of advice for anyone who is starting to unpeel the onion and get a sense of that, sense of who it is they truly are and who it is that they're not?
I think I'd start with stop trying to get there. Because there is no there out there. The moment you have this thing over there, when I get enlightened, then life will be great. Yeah. When I get the car, when I get the girl, when I get the money, the moment you stop trying to get there and understand that this, when you keep honoring this breath, this power, this beauty, this air, like when you keep honoring this, you're stacking moments on top of each other. And as you stack those moments, you create a new normal that has you vibrating so high that you light yourself on fire and people can't help but to be attracted to you like a light. And the moth is just attracted to it. Then you don't have to effort so much. You don't have to try so much. You know, it's like working out. I could take anything and just do this over and over again. If I do that over and over again, eventually this bicep will get bigger. And when I come in, I don't have to work as hard. You know?
So when you began your journey, were you just comfortable just being, or were you pushing?
Hell no.
What were you like?
Yeah, I was not comfortable just being at all. No, dude, that's why I can talk like this. Because I've been to the depths of you know, what we'd call some of the ugliest places. I've been in that place where I've wanted to end my life. I've been in that place where I've been pure anger and rage. I've been in that place where I've almost killed people. And like, wouldn't change it for a minute. Because now when I speak to people, I'm not guessing. This is not a guess. This is where true freedom comes from. Because you will never make or break me. Neither will money, neither will anything else. So when all those things are added, awesome. And if all those things are taken away, awesome. Because if I have breath, I have everything. And anybody who's ever had a near-death experience, anybody who's ever been truly sick, anybody who's ever sat with somebody, I've held people in my arms when they took that last breath. There is nothing more important than that breath in moments like that, period. And when you can see that, the rest of it's cake, man.
It's beautiful. It's the truth as well, man. I've also had a near-death experience, and it was in that moment that, you know, you connect with whatever we want to call it. We can call it the divine, you call it God, you call it Krishna, whatever that is, it comes and it hits you hard. And I watch my life like a projector screen of every single moment that had happened.
Whoa.
And I was like, is this the life is this a legacy that I want to leave? Is this it? And from that day is like when my life just like day by day, everything switched. And that's like 7, 8, 9 years ago now.
Whoa, fantastic. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for having the courage to listen to that. You know?
But you still got to tune to it like, all the time.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. It's still a practice. Everything's a practice. Whenever you practice more of, you get more of.
What are your practices to stay in attunement, to stay in alignment with that side of yourself, with the highest side of yourself?
Kicking and playing and screaming and dancing. Yeah. One of my biggest practices right now is play. Yeah. Is risking, is getting dirty. You know, too many people want to have it together. We gotta get messy. You know, because that's where all creation happens, on the edge of our comfort zone. And when you're comfortable, when you're in the know, you know, we're controllers. Most of the world they want to control. We're control freaks. We want to control everything, and we'll do anything to avoid facing off with ourselves. My practice is to look at my shit, is to face off with that. You know, like what's interesting, we have these cable companies out here, and we moved into a new spot in Venice. You guys came there the other day, and we were trying to get our internet set up, and 3 times they said they were coming and they didn't come. And I just literally sat there all day. Between 8 and 5 we'll be there. And 8 and 5 I'm sitting there and they didn't come. So I called, and I didn't remember this, and I'll put this out in the space. I know this, but I still didn't practice it at this moment. The context determines the content. So where you come from determines what you receive, right? And I called from the context of pissed the hell off, right? So I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I'm cursing, and I'm like, yo, get me a manager, I'm not playing, you know. And I loved seeing where my work is. You know, because everything's a teacher. You're my guru right now. That cable company, my guru, for sure. The teacher. P, you still got that thing in you, you know? And you'll never get rid of it. It's just a matter of how you be with it. Anybody out there who's working on something, let's call it sadness, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, whatever you're working on, whatever your dharma is, that thing that you're being with, it will never go away. You can transcend your relationship with it. That's a whole different ballgame. But what we came here to play with, some people, never complete. There's people in my family who will never complete. And there's a freedom in that for me, of not trying to change them or want them to get it. You know, when I first woke up, and a lot of us have this issue, we wake up and we want our whole families to wake up too. You know, I woke up and I was like, why are we eating fast food? You guys gotta stop. Why are you religious? All this stuff. And like, no one can hear you, you know? And that's maybe not their path. Not yet. Not in this lifetime. The moment I let go, everything shifted. When I shifted, they shifted.
Because you give them the space.
Gave them the space. As soon as I moved back into my love space, whatever that means for me, because remember, love cannot be defined, it is everything. But as soon as I tuned back into alignment and my soul signature and what it feels like when I'm in my highest good, the Preston before the wounds, big P that was little p, like that dude, when I tap back into that, everything shifted over there because the context determines the content.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, sir. You know what? Beautiful metaphor. The condition of the soil determines the productivity of the seed. That is one of my favorites because it's so true. You know, how the soil is determines on how the tree grows. This is the soil. You know. So what are you putting in? Are you putting in gangster rap? Are you putting in violent TV? Are you putting in gossiping and complaining? Are you putting in self-criticizing? Because if you are, that'll determine what is allowed to come into your space.
And come through you. And
yes,
come out.
Absolutely.
Because this is just a sensory experience. So we have everything coming in, whether it be visual. So just observing this now is affecting our consciousness in some form.
Yes.
This conversation, anyone listening to this conversation, this in itself is affecting your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And each thought that we think is also having an effect on our consciousness. So for me, what was very useful was becoming aware of what those thoughts were and just observing them. And I think this is where, you know, the master yogis, everyone talks about meditation and yoga. And for me, that was the benefit, just to see that thought and be like, that is a fucking weird thought that I'm thinking. And just being like, okay, move on. But just the awareness of that thought has allowed me to like slowly just shift, it's
huge,
tiny bit by tiny bit by tiny bit. And every day, eventually, like I'm moving more and more, and I'm not forcing it into a space where like I feel excited every day. I get to speak to people like you.
Yeah.
I get to sit here in places like this, but none of this, like you said, without of all of this, if I was just sat on my own in silence, I'm also happy there. I'm happy in that space too, because that's just me.
Yep. It's fantastic.
Do you practice? How do you find and navigate that space?
Well, yeah, awareness precedes everything. You know, there's no choice without awareness. You know, it's like I was walking through a mall a couple months ago, and I was looking at the koi fish, and observing that, you know, those koi fish, if let's say they had personalities, they'd be like, oh yeah, we have choice. We got this big giant pond. without an understanding of what else, of the ocean. You see what I'm saying? And I find that a lot of people are living in a koi fish pond, not understanding the ocean exists. And I think that's our job as way showers to become the ocean and then go have a conversation and have our ways of being in our life reflect the ocean. So people in the koi pond go, what the heck are you on and how do I get some? You know?
And you can feel it. You feel it when you speak, Preston. Like you feel the energy that you're coming from, and that is contagious. And just from your YouTube videos.
I'm high right now. That's why.
Yeah, you're high on life with no drugs. And
yeah, exactly.
And for me, I think I was just thinking. I was actually riding on my bike to the supermarket yesterday, and I was just thinking I remember in my teens, every day I was trying to get that feeling. Like I would take ecstasy, MDMA, every single drug, every drug under the planet.
Yes.
Just to feel love. That's what I was after the whole time.
Yes.
The whole time I was just wanted to feel love. And I guess whether we call it spirituality, awareness, becoming and having a greater understanding of the universe, when you do that, every day is tapping into a drug that doesn't have a come down.
Yes, no.
There's no
unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Unlimited resource.
Unlimited, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And here's a practice. This is something I do all the time. And I think it's one of the biggest things that people miss. And that is curiosity. Just get curious about people. Ask questions. Poke, play, just see, Because kids got it figured out. Kids are geniuses until we make them German Shepherds, until we domesticate them and make them like us, And so my job is to become more childlike every day. Is to bask and see, the moment we think we know, I give the example of, if I gave a seminar on how to tie your shoes, what would your listening be like?
Not great.
Not great. Why?
Because I know how
Because
to
you
do.
already know how to tie your shoes, right? But if I gave a seminar on how to tie your shoes with your pubic hairs without moving a hand, then,
that would be interesting.
I just made that up. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm constantly questioning my knowing. Oh, that's just so-and-so. No, it's not. That's a sentient being. That's a powerhouse. That's a source of information. What? Are you kidding me? I just put out a video of this guy named Brian, who most people would label as schizophrenic, right?
I seen it. I drove past him yesterday.
You saw him yesterday? Yeah. You scream his name out. He's amazing. So Brian, has, mud and crap all in his beard, and he's got dreadlocks, and he's, super, whoa, ho, my name's Brian. He's Brian. And so many people just miss him. They miss him. I get so much from Brian. Every day I stop and I talk to him. What up, B? Whoa, ho, my name's Brian. He does this thing, and yesterday, 2 days ago, I caught his eyes for a moment. And I was just sending him love as he was talking. And we had this moment, and then he went back out, right? And it was a gift for me. It was a gift. There's a gift in everything. And so many people are looking over there in somebody else's, they're looking for the greener grass, when it's right here. It always has been. You're looking, you don't need to travel to California to find the gold. The gold was already inside, and it always has been. It's already in proximity, when I started asking my parents powerful questions, what do you regret? What was the happiest moment of your life outside of having us? Because parents will always say, when I had you, and just getting curious, man, it'll change your whole life. I think it's just such an underrated thing to be curious, to be in wonder. And
there's so much knowledge in other people.
Oh my God, and everything. Everything. You just pluck a leaf and just look at the leaf and watch the sacred geometry and the beautiful stuff that, it'll teach you. Everything's a guru. Everything.
Yeah, I find metaphors in everything now, since I think when you enter that space into just becoming open to everything, it just life is just one big metaphor. It's funny.
It's amazing, dude. This is the greatest thing on the planet. And we all came in in a time when there was the internet, whoa, how powerful is that to be alive right now? And know that no matter what the question is, love is the answer. We're pioneers. Nobody even knows what the internet can do yet. We're just getting started.
What do you think it's going to do?
I think it's continuing to. See, we already have the global mind. The global mind is the internet. But the internet is supporting us in creating the global heart. It's connecting the way-showers. We all know each other. You just interviewed Till. I know her. We've messaged before. We've never met in the physical, but we're all coming together and we're all staring at the same mountain. So the internet is making it possible to move from the global mind to the global heart. Gigantic. That's huge. Never was there a time when this was possible until now. Imagine what Gandhi and Martin Luther King and all those people would do if they could lock arms, from all over the world instantaneously. And go, hey, I'm doing this over here. You want to support me? Hell yeah. I'm in. Because we're all staring at the same mountain,
I think it's because of those people who have walked their path and shone their light when it was the hardest.
Oh, yeah.
That they have been able to transcend through, that information is just like passing itself
for sure
through us, and it is expressing in people coming together now. Like that message lives on. Like that is so powerful, whether it be Jesus or whether it be Gandhi or whoever down the line. Yes. It is living through.
100.
Yeah. But I think if they were stood here now, I think they would be pretty stoked that there is an opportunity now for real change.
Heck yeah, man. It's powerful.
So we're talking of real change, and we're going to an event this weekend called The New Way.
Yes.
Which is talking about a new way of being for our planet, for our younger generations.
Yes.
Firstly, what do you think the core problem is that our society, the Western society, has right now? What do you think that core issue is?
I mean, it's the same as it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and that is separation. The moment we believe that that we're separate from our neighbor, we have an issue. I was reading this morning and yesterday the Good Samaritan, the parable of the Good Samaritan, and Jesus said, when the lawyer asked, how do I gain eternal life? And Jesus said, do you know the law? And he said, yeah. He said, tell me the law. And he said, to love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy strength, and thy neighbor as thyself. Right? This is what Jesus said. And the guy said, what do you mean by that? And Jesus told this parable, which is not true, but it's true story. It didn't actually happen, but he told it in a parable because he understood that people learn in stories. And he said there was a man that was going from Jericho to Jerusalem, or vice versa, whatever it was. And he fell among thieves, and the thieves beat him up, took his stuff, and left him in critical condition. And a priest came along and saw the man and passed onto the other side of the street. And then a Levite came along and saw the man and crossed to the other side of the street. And it wasn't until a Samaritan. Now, in the Bible, the Samaritans were the half-breeds. They were the outcast, which is beautiful that Jesus used this as the metaphor. The people who we call the lowest among us are the ones who are willing to lend a helping hand. So the Samaritan comes along, takes the guy, puts him on his horse, takes him to a hotel, pays for his food, tells the keeper, whatever else you need for this guy, I'll pay you when I come back. Right? And I find that so beautiful because that's the thing that we all get to move into, this understanding that our neighbor is whoever is here now, whatever is among us now. Our neighbor is that idea that keeps pestering you. Instead of passing to the other side of the street by watching porn or overeating or doing all of the stuff that you do, taking care of that neighbor, loving thy neighbor as thyself. Our neighbor are the chickens and the cows and the animals that we are abusing. Our neighbors are the sex slavery that is still happening on our planet right now. Our neighbors are all over this world. And yet we think we're separate. Yeah, something's happening here. Yeah. So yeah, for me, it would be separation, man. And understanding that, what you do to the least of my brothers, you also do to me. That's also in the Bible, That what happens over there, what's happening in Africa, with them mining and looking for minerals in the middle of the Congo while they keep a war going so we can have more iPhones. What's happening over there is happening over here. The pain they feel in India is the pain we feel here. The pain that is happening in LA is happening right here. It's not separate.
Why the fuck do we let it continue?
Because we think it's separate. And that is why you, me, and anybody else who understands that we're all in this together. Oh, these beautiful birds just flew right behind your head. They get it. Nature. We are nature. But the animals, the creepy crawlies, the birds in the sky, they all play together. There's a mutual respect. They understand that they're in this together. The trees play with the ground, play with the wind, play with the ocean. Everybody's playing together because it's all touching. Those who know it is our job to stand in front and wave the flag, to be the living example, the living embodiment of what it means to be connected truly. That's our job. Now, will we see this come to fruition in the masses in our lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm willing to put my life on the line for 7 generations to come. And I think that's what it's about.
I feel that, man. Like, I think it's something that I've always known that, like, I don't know, it's just like a thing that has existed inside of me the whole time, that just has just seen the world for what it is, and just known that there can be something better, there is something greater for us. Like, we can have love now, we can have peace now.
Yes.
Not sometime in the future.
Exactly.
Like, but it requires us, it requires me to be that. And that is challenging sometimes, because in a world of separation, to say you're connected to everyone is saying the opposite of what everyone else is feeling and thinking. So you have to really dig deep.
Absolutely.
To step in that space. And I've found that challenging, but at the same time I haven't, because like you said there, I would rather die than not live my truth. Because the pain that it would take, that the life that I would live if I am not to live my truth, would force me to live it. And I don't, it's like I almost don't have a choice.
Yes, yes.
If I want to live in love, if I want to live in bliss, if I want to enjoy this life, it's something that I must do.
Yes, absolutely, man. That's fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for you stepping out, and I'll say this on camera, and I've said it before, like, it's people like you who are stepping out against the grain, who are saying messages that, like, many people may not understand where they're at right now. And that's fine, that's cool. But what you do, man, takes bravery, like serious bravery, to step out and say what you say. And, like, I commend you as a man for doing that. Like, respect.
Appreciate it, man.
Respect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to finish on a round that we call the profound and the profane questions. Funny that you said that.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
So some are profound and some are profane.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's do this. So, what 3 books have influenced you most and why? And this is a quick fire round.
Conversations with God.
Why?
Okay, Conversations with God, because it in some ways acted as a Bible for me. There were so many things in there that I had sort of danced around, but I didn't have an understanding. I read it while I was in India, and I was sitting on these stairs that were older than Christianity, and I was just having this moment, and it just answered so many questions that I had and gave me more insight as to who I was being and what I was headed into. 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, because it was one of the first books that I took, and I just would take one law, like the law of detachment, or the law of pure potentiality, and I just play with it for months.
Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, Deepak Chopra, exactly.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that book.
Yes, yes. And then The third book would be the one that I just wrote, Love Louder, my book, because the book writes you at some point. And for anybody who's chosen to step into that path, you cannot write something you're not living. Not for me. So everything that I would write, I would be tested on. It would be like I'd write about something and then, zoop, are you serious? Let's see. You know? And so it worked on me so much that I love that. I love it for what it brought me and forced me to work out within myself.
I'm looking forward to reading it, man.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank
huh?
you.
Okay, next one. What would your last meal be?
Last meal would be like a bunch of just terrible stuff. Like it would just be everything. It'd be French fries and freaking Fruit Loops and like just Skittles and just like, you know, I'm going out. I'm going out, guns blazing, dude. It'd be like Brussels sprouts and like it's not just all terrible stuff. It'd just be a variety of everything.
Variety of everything.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question, Preston. What is true strength?
True strength. Getting back up, because we all get knocked down. Anybody who is willing to get back up and to face another day and operate in the space of love, even when they don't want to, true strength.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What is true love?
True love is now. It is now.
Beautiful. Who is your biggest spiritual inspiration?
Biggest spiritual inspiration. Alexi, my fiance.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength is my passion. My passion, my fire, my love, my love for humanity. I love us. I love people. I think we're crazy as hell, and I love it.
Yes. What is your greatest weakness?
My biggest challenge would be structure.
Structure.
Yeah.
I feel you there.
Yes.
If you could wake up tomorrow and have gained any one quality, skill, or superpower, what would it be?
I would have a magic wand that could show people who they are in an instant.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah, just ding! Oh, I'm love! Whoa! And then, you know.
I think there are some tools out there that might nearly do that.
Yeah, totally. I could just pop some Molly and then, you know. No,
Yeah, okay. What is true happiness?
True happiness is being in the dance. It's understanding that this is a journey, not the destination. And every destination we get to, we choose another journey.
Beautiful. Preston, I got to thank you, man, for coming down here and sharing your message and just being you and sharing that energy, sharing your just being in that space and holding it fucking strong. Thank you, and thank you for climbing up this mountain with us today.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we're all freezing, by the way,
We are
guys.
all absolutely freezing.
We're freezing. It looks sunny out here. It's
Yeah.
like 22 degrees right now. It's like icicles behind us. So thank you.
I was totally unprepared with this t-shirt.
Yeah, you were.
So where can people find you, Preston?
At Preston Smiles on anything, essentially. But if you go to prestonsmiles.com, you can buy my book, you can find my social media, you can find my programs, you can find everything at prestonsmiles.com.
Awesome, man. Well, for everyone that has tuned in today, I'd just like to show some love and gratitude for you for clearly being in this space too and being on the journey with us and supporting us and just being.
Yeah.
So this is us in LA. It is been incredible. Thank you so much. Until next time, big love.
Oh, oh.
Thanks, dude.
Boop, boop, boop.
Then got into modeling and entertainment, killed it in that industry, made 6 figures in my early 20s, bought a place in New York City, the most expensive place in the world. I had it all according to society's standards of having it all. And I felt so empty. If you give a shit about your own life and your family's life, you have to start caring about what's happening in the world. Because we're at a pivotal point where if you don't know what's happening and you're not aware of how every choice we make is a cause that creates an effect, then you're part of the problem. And you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And I did have some trauma in my early 20s. I was raped and sexually assaulted, which set me on this whole journey of spirituality and finding my core and what do I really want to do with my time on this planet, because I was faced with my shadows and the darkest parts of myself. I know that everything is a reflection of that same power. So how could I ever treat anything not sacredly? How could I ever treat it with a lack of respect? How? If I know that it's the same thing that I am. And it's that phrase, love thy neighbor as thyself. Everything is your neighbor. Everything. I think that the dis-ease of our world is that everyone is running away from who they truly are, trying to be somebody else. Meanwhile, who they truly are is all they need for everything they want. Our ego does not want to be destroyed. Our ego wants to look good. Our ego wants to be right. Our ego wants to be perfect. Our ego wants to be safe. And it's bullshit.